Welcome to another episode of GTM Innovators by 360 Insight. I'm your host, Kyle James, and today we're diving into all things go-to-market and community. And joining me today is, well, a good old friend who we've known each other for, 15 years now, Mark Kilens. Mark, welcome to the show today.
Thank you, Kyle. Good to be chatting with you again. I know we haven't seen each other in a physical sense in a while, but
Yeah,
I remember those foosball games way back. Those were fun.
way back in the day at HubSpot. Yeah, like we were former colleagues, way before the IPO of HubSpot, when it was like a manageable company that you could like fit inside of one floor of one building.
Cambridge
Um,
Innovation Center.
that's
Cambridge
right.
Innovation Center, man.
And well, what I've loved is like since then, you've got a ton of great, awesome stuff. You spent like really bounced around building communities, building academies, being VPs at lots of large organizations, like figuring out this go-to-market stack. And I always like to just start with people. I'm a big comic book fan. I love origin stories. Like share a little bit more of kind of the origin story that has brought you here. I might know it, but the audience does it of kind of founding TACK and kind of now joining EasyLlama as kind of their new VP of marketing. And then we can kind of take it from there.
Yeah, I'll try to keep this like very concise. I will say I have this very strong personal why that is guiding and has guided a lot of my decisions since 2007, almost 20 years now. So that's in a nutshell like why I've done what I've done. Um, at the end of the day, I started going down a path of mechanical engineering, thought it was just too tedious. It's not creative enough. I was bored basically after a year of doing it in college. Switched majors another three times, I think, three or four times. Ended up with a major and two minors in 4 years. Did some undergraduate research, which led me to then go to grad school. Dropped out of grad school 3 weeks in the week that Lehman Brothers collapsed because I felt like this wasn't that interesting. And also, I don't know, Lehman Brothers just collapsed. I think the economy is going to collapse, and maybe this is not the best time to go to grad school. And then got a job in Jan 2008, which then led me to meet one of your good friends still, Brian Whaley, at the first ever HubSpot user group, because we were a HubSpot customer at the time, based in Andover, Massachusetts, just north of Cambridge. And the rest is kind of history from there. I'll just leave it at that for right now.
So, all right. So you said personal why. Like, well, what is the personal why? You have to share that piece of it.
Sure. To change the way the world views money.
Whoa. Okay. Like, let's go there. Let's go there. Double click for me.
Well, I think money, is probably the ultimate power outside of, say, the weather.
Okay.
There's this thing that humans created for many purposes. And if you just look at the history of humanity, a lot of good and a lot of bad things have happened as a result of money. And I just have felt since about 20 years ago when I was studying a lot of different things, reading a lot of different things. I still do. I'm a ferocious learner. We're just on a slippery slope. We're on a
Yeah.
slippery slope right now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean,
There's
I
a
could
lot
go.
of
The
wise
whole
stuff.
podcast could be about this, by the way, Kyle. So if
It
you want
could
to,
be. It could be. Yeah.
like,
So let me see if I could tie it back a little bit more to go to market here. So I'm a big fan, and I've always said that it doesn't matter how good your product is. If no one buys it, it doesn't matter. It's like a tree falls in the forest and no one hears it, doesn't matter. Same thing, right? If you can't sell a product, no one cares. If no one knows that there's a product available, they can't buy it. It doesn't matter. Which goes into kind of that's the sales and marketing motion right there, summed up into like your money comment, right?
I don't think so. Actually, I think there's something
Okay,
above that.
all right. The
You got to
flow
sell
of
the
money, the the
you
the, the
you got
valuation of money.
no. You got to sell the problem.
People don't buy what you have; they buy the problem that they have. They,
Well,
they want to
they're
solve their
trying to
pain.
they're trying to solve the problem. Your product could be a way they solve that problem, but if you
Yeah,
can't sell the idea of like how to recognize that this is a problem worth solving and this is how much money you think you should spend to solve this problem.
yeah,
I'll give you an example. Like someone could tell me right now, Mark, you have bad breath. That's a problem.
yeah,
Because I'm gonna go speak to like a group of key people in like 20 minutes. I could buy a pack of gum, get a mint, brush my teeth, go to the dentist, use mouthwash. Like, how am I gonna solve that problem? right? This is a very transactional problem, but marketing is about that person then thinking back in their mind, how could I solve this problem? Like, what is coming to mind right now, given the constraints I have? So, great marketing, identifies with problems that people have, both consciously and subconsciously.
Yeah.
And then there's a
Yeah.
product, but it starts with a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. No one
So,
cares what you do. They care about what's their problem, what's their pain point.
yeah, most startups fail because they don't focus on problem market fit. They focus too much on product market fit first.
So how do you weave that, like your superpower, or at least I've always considered your superpower in this is like your ability to build community around things, right? Like the education aspect of your content, which very much builds the community and you know, like tell me how you think about how this ties that stuff together.
Um, ties, sorry, like my personal why or like the problem market fit thing, the like product market fit.
Both. I mean, I think probably more the product market fit piece, right? But like, you know, you could clearly have found that as kind of the thing that is like you're known for and you kind of made your name for, right? But you wouldn't have been driven to that if that didn't help solve your personal why, right?
Yeah, so my belief, my personal why, it's gonna get solved through a lot of different ways. Hopefully, maybe I'm able to help solve it with a lot of people in my lifetime. Maybe not. But one of the main things that is I think it's going to require to solve that problem of changing the way people how people view money is education. Educate
Mhm.
people, teach people, and explain to them like why their view of money is wrong or just inaccurate, what needs to change, and how they should change it, and what that means. I think technology is going to be a big enabler of that problem that needs to be solved. So that's why I've been so bullish on blockchain and crypto since 2012. Yeah, I mean, so going back to the actual marketing of a product or of a problem, what we've done so far in the last 20, 30 years, I'd say it's like we've created a lot of transactional type of marketing experiences.
Yes.
Um, because of technology. Technology's enabled a lot of transactional type of marketing experiences.
And tech and everybody wants to measure everything so they can measure individual transaction where the warm fuzzy of like the brand
Yeah.
awareness piece is kind of like becomes second nature.
Yeah, yeah. It's like demand before brand, which is not sustainable. Like it's not like durable.
Yeah.
Most likely. So yeah, to me, community is really about like belonging. And it starts with like the reason why someone would end up, starting and then joining this community. So there needs to be some type of purpose, going back to my personal purpose, right? Um, so that's the thing I've always anchored on. And like that purpose needs to be everyone's purpose, not just like the leader's purpose. It needs to feel like each person can have ownership, can take ownership of it and kind of, mold it, mend it, whatever, to how they kind of view it. Um, and then, from there, there's lots of other things and lots of other tactical things you do to really kind of grow and sustain a community. I think sharing of knowledge, you could call it education, you could call it training, you could call it learning, whatever, but sharing of knowledge and stories is one of the primary ways you continue to have that flame be lit for that community, and it will continue to attract more members to the community. So that's the reason why I thought, early days. And by the way, like I think community is one of the most powerful ways to actually create true word of mouth, which is one of the most, low cost, efficient channels you could have and want as a business. So like, why not invest in that? It's almost like stupid to not
Yeah.
invest in community because you just constantly have to throw money to acquire more customers versus letting people help you acquire customers versus the channels. So this whole shift of thinking in networks now versus channels and offers, like channels and offers, unfortunately, HubSpot did a lot of like not great things in terms of teaching people, and I take full responsibility for this. Is a lot of
Me too.
short-term thoughts. Um, Long term, like we should have been teaching that, but we should have also been teaching people a lot about like how to think about using networks, using people, places, brands as a starting point to your go-to-market, and then using channels and offers as a follow-on to that.
Why do you think that more companies don't take advantage of building community for the free word of mouth? Is it because it's hard? Is it because people are lazy? Is it because people are not social enough because they don't care enough about people's problems? What do you think it is?
Yeah, I think it's hard. I think there's laziness. I think it's hard to measure. There's tons of
Hard to
reasons,
measure.
right? People don't believe in it. I mean, you got to believe in it really for it to work. People are impatient. Um, yeah, there's a lot of reasons, honestly.
What do you think is the most misunderstood aspect of building community? Like a lot of that sounds like these people misunderstand it, but like I don't know. I'm just kind of trying to drill into like, is there one thing that we could leave people with? Like, this is the one reason that you're wrong, that you need to do this.
Well, first off, there's two types of communities.
Okay.
There are two categories of communities. There are rented communities, and there's owned communities. And if you're doing neither, you're really just never going to have a chance. I hate absolute statements, but I will say pretty confidently, if you don't activate and grow rented communities and owned communities, your business is doomed. What is our rented community? LinkedIn is a rented community. It's a network. It's a place where people hang out. I call it like community-led growth, right? Facebook is a rented community. If you're a member of Pavilion, it's a rented community. You don't own that thing, they do. What's the example of an own community? Kind of what we built at HubSpot with HubSpot Academy, right? And a company can have multiple types of owned communities. HubSpot now has dozens of communities within their overall ecosystem, and
Sure.
each of these communities is a network, and it's a node, and they some people are part of multiple communities, multiple networks. But um, starting with the rented communities, like that is like how people buy today. If you think about what people first GTM is, it's matching how you market and sell, how you go to market to how people buy. People buy in a very social centric way for B2B and B2C. And what is social? It's community.
Yeah.
So like it starts there first.
The thing, like the interesting thing about what I'm hearing you say though, and correct me if I'm wrong, but really that piece hasn't ever changed.
Oh, I
Like you've
disagree. I
you've
disagree.
always bought community and social, right? Like even think 100 years ago when you went to the feed store and you bought your animal,
I
it
see what you
came
mean.
from your community, right? Like, okay, maybe some point in the 60s and 70s that went a different path, but like, or maybe what I'm saying is maybe it came back full circle, or it is the oldest form of kind of buying. It was community led. Here's the person you trust, and they built out their reputation over years or decades in this community. Um,
I see what you mean. Yes, I thought you were meaning like social networks haven't changed and like all that
oh,
other stuff. No, no, no. You're right. No, no, that is the way that people have pretty much always done transactions.
we've just tried to like
Yeah.
productize it and digitize it and scale it, maybe.
Well, there's more than that because like the hardware has had major implications on community like growth,
Uh-huh.
right? The hardware being the mobile phone, the smartphone. Um, because that has enabled now each person to be able to create their own community digitally and create content at a clip at scale that's never ever been seen in the history of humankind.
Yeah.
So there's a huge difference. Like 2008 was a massive tipping point.
Yeah.
Almost kind of right when we started HubSpot.
Yeah. Can you build community without content? Can you build a community without having content?
Depends how you define content.
Okay. Let's content is God, content's such a broad thing, but right, you're
Exactly.
you're 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 writing, you're sharing research, you're sharing how-tos, your instructions. I mean, and once again, I'm probably broadly or narrowly defining this, but it could also be pictures and videos and elements from extra third parties. But yeah, I mean, it seems like it probably is the common bond between all of it.
No, so you can build community without content. What you can't build community without is value.
Okay.
You got to give members value. They got to give members other value. They got to give you some value back. Value creation is what you can't have. You have to have, I should say, to build a community,
So what are ways that you give value outside of sharing content?
which is conversation. I mean, so is conversation a type of content where you're giving ideas and sharing insights? Is that content to you?
Sure.
So then it's content. So it goes, it's all like, it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. No, but it's useful to like get into the nuance, right? Because like a lot of times we just kind of buzz through this, but like I think understanding the nuance for people helps them break down like to your point, what is the why? What is the core purpose? The core purpose you're saying is the conversation, but is the
That's
conversation
it.
loaded with content? Yes, but there are probably other elements of it too.
I think it's more if I had to use a C, like a word that began with C, it's a conversation. You can't build a community without conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Content, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think you need content person. I think you need conversations, and conversations have to result in value.
Okay. How do you measure it? How do you measure what do you use to kind of measure the ROI of these things? Is it all, I mean, I guess for a
Uh,
business, it's all like bottom line, turn them into customers, but
Depends on your business model. What you sell, who you sell it to, how you sell it. That's really hard to answer. I think it's highly dependent on yeah, your business and your GTM. Some companies are going to measure it in very specific ways, and they're going to track it down to revenue, and there's a funnel. Others are going to be like, no, we're going to measure impressions and
yeah.
share of voice and all those other like it's and signups for the free product, right? It's very nuanced, I think.
So much, I'm curious, how do you think the philosophy of kind of building these communities, creating these conversations, how has that changed? Let's say you mentioned kind of 2008 is kind of a reflection point of when the last big Great Recession changed a lot of stuff. Like, how has your philosophy on how to do this stuff changed since then?
It's just been changing more and more to be people first.
Okay.
We've yeah, I think again, like HubSpot is partially to blame, where it's like, go to our landing page, fill out a form, blah blah blah. Like over time, that was just going to be terrible experience, right? It is now. It's terrible experience. So um, undoing the transactional experience of B2B. So that's how my views changed. And my view used to be like, no, you have to have a
Mm,
strong CTA to go to a landing page, to sign up for an email. You have to have a lot of offers on your website. But now, because so many people have done that, so many people have the same content, so many people are saying similar things,
yeah.
that doesn't work. That's not good anymore. So you have to really think differently and bolder. If you had to leave like two words for this from this podcast, it's you got to be always investing in ways you can be more different and more bold. Um, and take a lot of chance. Go fast, take chances. It's one of my personal mottos, and that's what businesses don't do because they want to be financially secure. They want to feel secure. They don't want to have too much risk. They're always
Yeah.
about risk reduction. I mean, it's there's tension with that idea.
Yeah. So how much of it can you share? Because I know, right, like you recently joined EasyLlama as kind of the VP of marketing, and you're back in the trenches more as an individual contributor directly solving this versus kind of TACK where you were kind of advising all these companies on it. Talk to me. One, I'm curious, like, what's it been like you going back into that? What attracted you to kind of get back into that? And like, how are you taking kind of the things that you've learned here and these new kind of ways that you're thinking about it? Maybe it's not new, but the ways that you're thinking about it now and kind of directly applying it to how you're approaching, um, solving those pain and getting those conversations going with the new community that you're building.
I mean, I always knew I was going to go back in house. TAC was not
Okay.
a permanent thing, at least in the business structure that we started with and evolved.
And tell everybody what TACT is just so the audience knows if that's something they're interested in.
Yeah. I mean, it's part community, part consulting now. So it's a side thing that I do. There's a community where I teach people in a one to many, and I have a small mastermind group that's very, very intimate. But GTM, people first GTM. How do you storytelling, relationships, and partnerships? Basically, how to use networks to bring your products to market and make them very successful. And then there's consulting I still do on the side. But yeah, I did that for almost 20 months. One is like I did want to go back in house because I wanted to find a job in a new way. I didn't want
Yeah.
to interview. I only had to interview 3 times in my life for a job after college. My first job out of college, I interviewed with HubSpot and I interviewed with AirMeet. And after my last experience interviewing, and kind of what transpired, like I really never want to interview again. So that's partially why I started TACK. No exaggeration.
Okay.
The other thing is I saw an opportunity in the market that was going to last probably 18 to 24 months that I wanted to seize. And we seized it. We did pretty well. We created this idea of on-demand go-to-market services. We had a team of 30 people that we plugged into different businesses. If Nick, my co-founder, and I weren't doing the work, and we were making a percentage of that of their money that they were making.
Right.
So it was really good. And these people were GTM operators, so it was a different agency model, way different. And people loved it because they're like, we're not hiring an agency, we're hiring actual people that know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah.
Um, so anyway, that was good. That was fun. And it led me to find EasyLlama, which is great. At the end of the day, TACK was just about expanding my network because ultimately what I think I need to do is I need to
Exposing
become,
you to conversations.
yeah, exactly. It's really fundamental stuff here. It's like
Yeah,
to be
yeah,
successful, like it just requires persistence, patience, and consistency.
yeah,
And conversations. But yeah, then with EasyLlama, it's like, wait a minute, this is an amazing team, bootstrapped. I wanted to go to a bootstrap company that was profitable for a few different reasons, that had a really big market, that had great founders, great tech, great big vision, bold ambitions. So I mean, when I saw this, it was like check, 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 and I was just like, man, this is amazing. So yeah, it's exciting. We have a big launch. I don't know, this podcast probably has gone or sorry, the launch has probably happened already, but on May 28th,
yeah,
there was this big launch, and that was the first big thing. I started full time April 1st, and yeah, we're reinventing that business because that business is using a very company first go to market motion, and we're going to over time change that to be more people first and more network based and not so dependent on channels and all and other stuff, you know.
yeah. Tell everybody, give everybody a little bit more idea about like what Easy Llama does, kind of like the education and kind of how y'all do that.
Yeah, EasyLlama is right in the education space. It's an all-in-one compliance and learning platform. So we help companies reduce risk, human risk, company risk, and we help make their teams more productive, more efficient. We have a learning management solution. We have a compliance and workplace training solution. So those two things together are very powerful when you think about the human resource department, L&D, IT, that type of stuff. So we're just trying to make better workplaces through the power of learning and education, which
Yeah.
look at that goes back to my personal mission
Boom.
a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. And I imagine like kind of HR is kind of your main persona that y'all go after, and that's kind of where you are building your communities is around those audiences.
Yeah, yeah, we're just starting to, but HR is the main one, learning and development, IT, and then even like legal. There's like three or four kind of core buying groups, if you will. Yeah, yeah.
And what do you find are like the biggest levers that you're able to like quickly and easily pull to kind of like get people excited or the big wins that you're seeing?
Other people, partnering with other people. They already have an audience. They already have network. They already have conversations. They already have trust. Partner with other people. It's
So
that
you're
simple.
doing a lot of like partner marketing with other
Yeah, co-creation of people inside
co-creation.
the company first. Like our head of HR, Pooja, she didn't have a newsletter. She's got a newsletter now. It goes out on behalf of EasyLlama. She wasn't really posting too much on LinkedIn. Post on LinkedIn. We're helping her do that, right? Like other people is the way you go to market these days. And then yeah, we'll create a whole actual community at some point. Maybe not this year. I definitely think 2026. But like partner with your customers. That's the second place you start with. It's like, wait a minute, we have like over 6 to 8,000 customers. Like we've done such little to actually partner with them to help them see more value, but also help us get some more value. Like that's where we're starting. And, internal and then with like customers, I'd say.
How are you enabling that? Meaning like a lot of times marketing and customer success might be a little bit siloed, but how are you getting into those conversations and like doing that discovery to find out where there are partnership opportunities with your customers? Because that's, I hear you, that seems like a big win, but that's once again another hard thing that a lot of companies really struggle with.
Well, yeah, you're right. The first thing you got to do is make sure that your CEO understands how you need to create a united go-to-market team between your marketing, sales, CS, and product. Not aligned. I hate the term alignment. We said it all the time at HubSpot. I think it just wore me down. And after like looking at alignment and all this crap, you don't align. You unite. You unite your teams. And there's many ways you do that. You start with like the who are you going after and why are you going after that customer and what problems are you solving? Go back to the problem market fit. If you're not united on the problems and the ideal customers, everything else is going to be a fucking harder. Excuse my language. I'm
Yeah.
swearing a little bit. It's Friday. It's just going to be a lot harder. So like, Hunter and I, our CX leader, like we need to be united on those things. And so I kind of run at EasyLlama, like not just marketing, I kind of run the go-to-market side with Sam, our
Good.
CEO. He ultimately makes the decisions. He's the CEO. I think every CEO owns go-to-market. I think this most CEOs should look to their marketing leader if they have the capabilities and experience to do so to execute the go-to-market. It could be CRO as well. It could be like a VP of sales. It's one of those probably that needs to
Yeah.
then be the partner to the CEO to actually bring the vision, the decisions to life. So
Yeah.
in this case with like Hunter, it's like, look, here's what we're going to do to start activating the voice of our customer more. Here's how we're going to create some process to actually make customers become partners of us, and tactical things like building the initial formation of a customer council, if you will, advisory board, whatever you want to call it, right? Like that thing, doing really smart things with getting people who fill out a 10 on our NPS, because we have so many customers, such high volume, we're getting a lot of NPS responses. Nines and tens, we're going to ask them to do a video testimonial for 1 minute and also give them, it's either 50 or 100 bucks to do that. Like
Something
it's
meaningful.
just that
Yeah.
type of stuff. You know what I mean? So it's like, great. Now I can use that stuff in so many ways in my marketing. Like, so yeah, it's just, but you have to be aligned, because if you're not aligned on the who, right, and you're not aligned on uh the problems, um, it's not gonna make sense, right? If your customers are solving problems that marketing isn't marketing, or like it's like what's going on here,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Like,
And then once you're kind of aligned and united, like, do you feel like then it just empowers and enables people to like know what they need to do and who they need to get with, and it
well,
kind of
yeah, and
cuts
some of
down
that
the
has to be
silos.
the, yeah, I mean the CEO of the company's got to be somewhat uh very clear in saying, hey, like this person is helping me run the go-to-market. Like there has to be like a like in the military, there is command and control, right? And that's I mean, and that's what hurts a lot of companies. There's not clarity on like who owns the ultimate responsibility and decision-making power. Like that has to be in place. That's the other thing I'd say. Those three things: roles, responsibilities, decision-making power, accountability, the problem alignment, and the ICP alignment. At a minimum, it's those three.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't get anything done with committees, right? Like the buck stops here. Who is the ultimate decision maker, and
So
make the
bad.
call.
So bad.
Yeah. Yeah. That's always been a pet peeve of mine too. Like, just tell me who makes a decision and I'll live with that.
Yeah.
I'll make the decision. Just we need somebody that makes decisions. What are some of the early, like you mentioned, some of the minute long video testimonies? Are you starting to see, have you started seeing wins with any of those, or it's still kind of too early to tell?
It's too early. I mean, I started full time April 1st. I was
Way
fractional
too.
for
Yeah.
about 2 months before then. So I'm right now, as this recording is being done, I'm like 7 weeks in full time,
Yeah.
maybe eight. So it's too early to tell. We could tell though, like already we've changed how we sound, how we talk, especially in our ads, landing pages, um, way more people first versus company first by using just different styles of how we write. Instead of
Right.
first person or third person, it's second person. Um, Making sure that a customer is always part of what we're marketing in some way, either through an example, a quote, soon videos, changing the whole branding of like our imagery to be real llamas, people at EasyLlama, or customer images, like this stuff like that, right? Like it's going to be a multi-phased approach to make the whole ship turn to be people first, but and to be about really the network piece and the community piece. But
Hmm.
everyone's got to be again aligned to that strategy. Like if you're trying to do that and the CEO is like, I don't want to do that, like it's not gonna go well.
Yeah. Yeah. I just looked at, we've been talking for half an hour almost already, and I haven't even asked you the question, but you started talking about content. How is AI fitting into all this for you? What are you guys doing with AI? Are you using it for content creation? Are you use it for optimization, or like how is your teams taking advantage of what tools are you using with it?
Yeah, I mean, every tool that we use is going to have some type of AI component to it. Like
Yeah.
Wistia is a good example. Wistia has a good amount of AI stuff baked into it, and we can get a lot of good stuff with Wistia thanks to all their AI stuff. Default is another one. Clay is another one. SendSpark, that's a really cool AI product. Instantly. that's kind of some of the core stack. HubSpot, obviously, we're huge HubSpot customer. I think we have every single hub, except maybe operations. But I know we have marketing, sales, service, CRM. It's more about like, yeah, like AI to me, it's more about, and then we're gonna start building our own agents. We have the new thing that HubSpot came out with, like the MCP beta and like some stuff there and a few other things. It's interesting because it unlocks a lot of the ways we can create smarter agents. But I think of the team, to your question, in like three ways. There's full-time people, part-time people, and then digital workers, always on people.
I saw you recently post that. Yeah.
So like that's definitely where we're going. Like so I have a team meeting with everyone that's part-time and full-time once a month. We just did the first one the other week, actually this past week, and people loved it. Soon we'll be inviting some actual agents into that meeting. What it will look like, I don't know, but we'll have an agent present to us something, and hell, maybe we could write it out or design it, excuse me, where that agent is actually like having a conversation with us. Like,
Yeah.
I have you ever seen an agent in a team meeting? By the way, I'm curious. That's
I mean, usually they're just the call, call, listen to, and they give you the meeting notes, that kind of stuff. But actually talk and interface and
yeah,
like engage people,
yeah.
no.
That's what I'm gonna get to very soon. I want to get to that point.
What tool are you using for that?
I have no idea. I'm gonna talk to some folks that I know that can help me build something like it, and we're gonna just try it because like that could be really cool. Like you could have like your RevOps agent
Yeah,
in the meeting,
yeah, interesting. Yeah, or
right?
someone that you can query and like do all the back end, like pull this report for me. I want to know this stat.
Yeah,
Go, you know,
it
type in
happens
the
all the
plug
time.
code. Yeah,
And then that's gonna be a huge company. Whoever builds that, by the way.
interest. Yeah, yeah.
Fuck, huge company.
It's just an MCP layer that plugs into whatever.
Yeah.
That seems like exactly where somebody like a Zapier should go to, right? You've got integrations into
But
thousands of products.
that's innovator's dilemma, right? They might be able to pull it off, but that is classic innovator's dilemma.
Very true.
So yeah, maybe you build it. That'd be sweet.
Maybe. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, because aren't you part of like doing stuff with Agent.ai?
I do stuff with a whole lot of different stuff. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. A lot of it, I have conversations like this, with some of their builders now, and learning and seeing why they're building stuff, what they're building, and how they think about building it. There's so much going on with AI right now. It's always a question I like to get to because it's fascinating all the different ways that people are using it. And I've had conversation with people that the way that it's completely transforming, like go to market internationally, where it was always the last thing you had to think about. How do we translate all this language stuff? Well, now you do it in the product and write your legal terms and all this. It can be brought up much further in the process, um, to how it comes in and helps you write the product, right? You see Cursor and all these things that, I talk to engineers that they're writing less and less code and like just kind of vibe coding with these things. It's a real thing now.
We yeah, we just had an AI engineering sprint week.
Yeah,
Like they like I don't know what they did exactly. I should probably find out, but like they spent pretty much a week retooling their systems to think
yeah.
and they code with a lot of the AI stuff, right? Like I think they tried everything that they could. Lovable, Riplet, Cursor. There's a new one. I forget the name of it now.
There's a lot of
But like, yeah, they were like, how could we think about each of these and what's the best for kind of our setup, what type of code we're writing, our back end, like all that stuff, you know?
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of concern, especially more in the enterprise space, all the governance around this, and how do we keep this data locked in so that it doesn't get open and out. And I think you're seeing more of that come into even the smaller companies,
Yeah.
right? Because that's like your IP. And the more that it gets into these models and trains, but also for every company going forward, your secret sauce is your data, right? That's the special stuff that you have that you're going to be able to build on, and the more data you have, the more you have to train on, the more power you're giving your users. You're going to see more of that scale.
It's
And
your,
that's,
it's, no, you're right. It's your data and your network. It's
yeah,
two sides of that coin, right? It's like the people and your data. Because
yeah,
one side is distribution and data could play into distribution too, don't get me wrong. But 100% agree. It's data plus probably like the network your company has.
yeah, yeah. And the more you kind of have that data, and how do you segment it? Because the other thing you see happening, especially with these larger data sets, right, is like the older stuff starts hallucinating, or how good is your data? Because once you start introducing not ideal data, or you haven't partitioned up stuff enough of the stuff along the edges out, that's where the hallucinations and it asks, it telling you to put glue in your pizza comes from. And it's solvable, and you're seeing companies start to solve that. But it's all about how you're setting up your eval, your solution, and getting in there and testing it, and tweaking it, and cleaning it up to be more and more specific into what it's trying to solve and do.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, talk about just a big industry continuing to get bigger.
Yeah,
The data industry.
yeah. I guess to that point, right? With y'all playing with all this stuff, like how do you think about kind of the buy versus build decision? When you're building out kind of a MarTech stack, because it's something else I've seen and heard a lot about is companies trying to consolidate, right? Because there's so much overlap in these various tools. Um, is this one good enough versus we need these other bolt-on solutions that, are really good at specific things, but maybe we're good enough with what we have.
Well, I think it depends on your philosophy. So my philosophy is what's the best possible buying experience I could create, and then pick all your tools. And
Mm.
then the decision is speed and maintenance. So I think we're gonna do a lot more like really smart buying with not as much like building us stuff internally.
So if let me repeat back what I think I heard you say in kind of cow language. Um, it doesn't matter what you think. If this is a better customer experience, that's where I'm going for.
Yeah, match your go-to-market to how people like to buy.
Yeah. If there's pain in any part of it for them, we need to find a better way to do it. It doesn't matter the tool.
Yeah.
What Mark, what advice would you give, kind of first time VPs of marketing kind of stepping into kind of go to market leadership roles, especially as kind of you've done this multiple times. And what are some lessons that you see that are repeatable, or scars on your back that you've learned the hard way that you kind of paid forward?
Um, First try to really understand your superpower and kryptonite.
Mm,
If you haven't like done a lot of self-reflection, like start there. Like, what is your one or two superpowers? What's your kryptonite? Um, then ask yourself, like, what is my like core marketing, if you will, like skill set?
yeah,
Now it's usually three or four categories, right? Brand, demand, product marketing, right? But you have to ask yourself too, like, if you're a first-time VP, goes back to what we were just talking about. Like, how are you and that CEO, or like your boss, and then like hopefully they report to the CEO, like how are you like united? Like, are you united? If you're not united, then trying to get the company united, like good fucking luck.
yeah,
So it's all about like how do you think about being united with your CEO? And that's the most important thing you can interview for in the interview process is
yeah.
you folks being united.
Real talk. Yeah, whatever it takes. If you all need to go out and have a few drinks to loosen up and like get into it and
Oh yeah, and then you have
have
to
hard
back channel the heck
conversations.
out of that person. You gotta like because they could say anything they want to get you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You gotta talk to current employees, former employees, maybe other people they know. Like, yeah.
I want to dig something. Like you said, the superpower versus kryptonite. So when I hear people talk about that, there are kind of two philosophies that they go out of from that.
Mhm.
One, and I'm curious your opinion and how you think about it, is like,
Please.
how do I lean? The number one is how do I lean further into my strength and pass off and ignore all my weaknesses? Versus two, how do I take my weaknesses and turn them also into strengths? Do- Does that make sense? Do you lean one way or another as you think about, as you
Oh,
kind of identify those things?
oh yeah. I mean, I always say double down on your strengths
Okay,
and just be super aware of what maybe is your kryptonite and like don't let it get you.
got it,
Yeah.
got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, what's one decision you wish you could do over in kind of your go-to-market career? Like, has there
Ah.
been an experiment or something you tried that blew up horribly that you're like, man, if we could have only redone that with what I know now?
No, not really, actually. No. I mean, knock on wood, it doesn't happen. But no, I mean,
Is that because you're just okay failing and trying something different, you think?
yeah, I mean, nothing's ever perfect. Everything can always be better. Like, I think you're always failing. So, like, I don't get stressed about that stuff, honestly. I don't know. It's
Fair.
like I'm sure there's a lot of examples. I just put it, I learn from them and then I move on. I don't
Oh
like that.
yeah.
I don't dwell.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's
Well, I guess in kind of wrapping, I want to be mindful of your time, Mark. Like, what have I not asked you that I should have asked you that like, or what final things do you want to kind of share with the audience out here?
whew.
We've had some big takeaways. We kind of led with some, right? Community, like thinking about conversations and primary focus and your purpose.
I'll say this for marketers listening. You marketers listening, I really think need to go from a marketing mindset to a CEO mindset, which is a go-to-market mindset. A lot of your job is being done by AI, will continue to be done by AI. You need to move up a couple pegs and think much more strategically, much more in the financial set. You got to get really comfortable with P&Ls. You got to really think like a CEO finance person, and also be really good on the marketing side, of course. Um, and the best of the best, I think, really have strong sales acumen as well. So I think just marketing folks listening, like, don't just stay in marketing. Like if you do, I think you'll struggle long term in this
Mhm.
environment.
You got to understand all the pieces of the house.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. I think there will come a time where there's, a lot of different agents or AI type of people, digital workers, whatever you want to call them, doing a lot of the marketing.
Mm.
You're gonna need like my estimation is like your marketing teams will be half as big as they need to be right now. And you're already seeing that, right? The job market, I feel bad for a lot of people. Like it is very hard. Like
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, a
yeah.
lot of that content can be written or you need to repurpose something. You need to generate an image. Like there's a lot of these things that can do this. You just got to be able to pick it apart and like why it's not good or why
Well,
it
you
is good.
need, yeah.
You got to know what great is.
Well, no, with you, that's exactly right. You're hitting on something important. You need taste.
Mm,
You need to be a craftsperson. You need to enjoy the craft making, as much as the craft you make.
boom. Super insightful. I think there's a lot of great raw takeaways for people that might not want to hear some of these things, but they're all, dead honest truth. Mark, how can people help you? How could people find you? Obviously, you're all over LinkedIn, but kind of give some more light along about what you're doing and how people can help you and like connect with you and things like that.
I mean, just sign up for TACK Insider. That's where I share a daily GTM idea or strategy or example every day. I do that every day, Kyle, in the community. I also publish them on the website, but people see them in Slack and people love them. And I write a weekly newsletter about all this stuff. So yeah, tackinsider.com.
You're definitely no lack of here's a framework to do this, here's thoughts about it. You're transparent with everything you do, which is great. Like pretty
Yeah.
much learn it, figure it out, and share what you learned. And
Pretty much. I mean, but that's what a lot of people are doing now, which is good. I finally feel like we've come to that point. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
look at what Dharmesh and the crew at Agent.ai is doing, right? Very similar stuff, I feel like.
yeah,
Like, so what do you do? Like, you have like your hands in eight things, it sounds like. A lot of different
yeah,
things. Yeah.
yeah.
So you're trying to figure out the next thing for Kyle?
I don't know. I don't know if I'm trying to figure out the next thing for Kyle or I just get bored doing one thing.
Oh, so maybe it is. The next thing for Kyle is three different things. Yeah.
Which, to your point earlier, having conversations is where you learn stuff, right? And in this market, it's all about who you network with, who you have conversations with, what you can get connected into. I was just reading something the other day, like if people are out there looking for jobs, like people are applying for hundreds of jobs and not hearing anything.
Yeah.
Randomly, like I got an email earlier this week from a recruiter for a job I applied for in December, asking if I wanted a screening call.
No way. Really? Six
Uh,
months?
6 months later. Yeah. Just because I was curious, like, sure, why not? Where's this going to go? I have no idea. I have no expectations at this point, but like that
Yeah.
shows you how messed up the job market is right now.
Wow.
Um,
I've only had that happen once in my life, and it was actually like 9 or 12 months later. I kind of remember it, and it was the Apple Store. This was
mm,
back in like college.
Yeah.
And I applied to just do something at the Apple store because I worked at the University of New Hampshire computer store, which sold
Yeah.
Apple. I'm like, oh, I'll work at the Apple store. I think it took them like a year to get back to me, 9 or 12 months.
Yeah, that you remind me of my first job out of college where I ended up going back and working IT help desk for the college I went to school
Yeah,
at. And at
exactly.
the end of the summer, I got a letter in the mail. This was 2003 from them saying, "Hey, we want you to apply for this nighttime help desk job." And I called them back. I said, "You realize I graduated?" Because I remember like a year before going by and putting in my resume that I was trying to get a job there as a student worker. And like, oh, no, 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 we realized that we needed somebody and had this sitting around. And like, oh, I ended up actually getting that job, but it was kind of like, wow, that kind of after I'd already applied for all these other things, you never know how it's going to come back and turn around, but it's
It's
networking who
wild.
you know, right?
No, that's wild. That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's yeah. You're right.
But
Yeah.
like you, very much of my jobs over my career has all been word of mouth networking. It's not just going out and applying for jobs.
No,
That's broken today for anybody, especially anybody that's anywhere up the chain.
you're right.
Um,
Yep.
awesome. Well, hopefully everybody out there enjoyed this conversation. We take 5-star reviews only, so please leave those, like and review. And thanks again for tuning in, Mark. I appreciate the conversation.
Thank
Um,
you.
and we'll be back next time for another Go to Market Innovators. Until then, keep growing, everybody.